when you use that product, it masks the pain, and the dog will run and jump in situations which are not, and actually ends up doing more damage to the cartilage. Our products is right in there, restoring and allowing the joint to function properly. So, people say, well, is that a competitive product to you? I said, no, I think it's more of a complementary product for total joint health.
Hey everybody, it's Stuart Smith with SmallCapVoice. Now I want to ask you a question. We all want to invest in something good. Of course, good for our portfolio, but what about if it's good for our portfolio? Maybe it's good for our spirit, our soul, the environment, but what about those treasured pets, AKA fur babies? What if we could invest in a company that is really pushing the envelope when it comes to their care? And that's who we're speaking with today. We're speaking with John Lai. John is the Chief Executive Officer of PetVivo Holdings Incorporated. That ticker on the Nasdaq is PETV. And John, I want to thank you for making time for us today, because you're at one of the biggest conferences in the West. It's there in Las Vegas, as if Las Vegas ever throws a small conference. Tell us first a little bit about where we're speaking to you at, John.
So we're at the Mandalay Bay South Conference, and it's called the Western Veterinary Conference, 15,000 attendees. So like you said, it is a large one. And the good thing is we get a lot of Canadian vets that come down. And we're about to clear Health Canada. So this product, hopefully in the next 60 to 90 days, will be available in Canada. The product is called Spring with Osteo Cushion Technology. So the uniqueness of the technology is the fact that it's an extracellular matrix. So once it's injected into the joint, it starts to formulate a scaffold. And it mimics the cartilage and tissue. And the good thing is it's pretty neutral to the body. So you don't have any of the adverse events like you have with some of the other products. And we're focused on addressing the root cause of the problem. So the problem is osteoarthritis. So these particles mimic the cartilage, so it helps the joint function properly. So it's different. The other competitors are more focused on the symptoms of pain and inflammation. And a lot of times when you use that product, it masks the pain, and the dog will run and jump in situations which are not, and actually ends up doing more damage to the cartilage. So ours is really what we call a good approach to a multimodal approach. So the other products can kind of minimize the effects of pain and inflammation. Our products is right in there, restoring and allowing the joint to function properly. So people say, well, is that a competitive product to you? I said, no, I think it's more of a complementary product for total joint health.
Well, that's exciting. And I'm excited to say that one of our subscribers actually reached out to us to talk to your company. And that's exactly what they said. I'm going to read the quote. PETV has some really cool products that help with the joint health for animals. They treat like osteoarthritis by filling the joint via injection, which you just talked about right now. And you also just talked about what separates you from the competition. Viewers and listeners, I want you to go to PetVivo.com. That's PETVIVO.com. And, again, where I got that tagline was right on the investors tag, invest in something good. But what jumps out to me as well, John, is that we're not talking about just the household pets. I see right here, the equine, the horses, this is for, just tell us a little bit about the building blocks of your company. Who are you targeting?
Sure. So a little history, we were actually funded by NIH and the Department of Defense on the human side. So the science was developed at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. So it's a peer-reviewed science. And when I joined the company, I said, wow, all this human work, we can go right into the animals and start helping animals. It's very unusual where you get the opportunity to go into a company where you're helping animals' quality of life. You're also helping people, pet owners, because we have had situations where dogs, service dogs, they're very expensive to train. They're like $30,000 a properly trained service dog. And at age 8, they start getting osteoarthritis and pain, and they don't function as well because they're distracted. And we've done the injections, and for the next few years, the dog is functioning perfectly, and they improve their mobility and quality of life. And the product lasts. That's the thing. We say it lasts at least a year because that's what we tracked in our human testing. The particles were still there, but in real world applications, we have seen it last 2 years. So there's a lot of good economics with it, because also one of the big drivers within the veterinary space is to minimize the use of pharmaceuticals, because pharmaceuticals have multiple side effects. Just like with the humans, if you're taking prolonged use of NSAIDs, you develop GI tract bleeding, you're basically getting liver and kidney issues. So when we inject Spring, we find that within 30 days, dogs go off of the meds.
All right. Well, for our
Oh,
people,
sorry, I didn't address the equine question. I apologize for that. So how we got started was actually in the equine space because of all the human clinicals. We didn't have to do any clinicals to be approved for the animal side. So the equine vets are much easier to approach because athletic horses are on tracks and stadiums performing like rodeo horses, hunter jumpers, race horses. So when we inject the particles, they see the results pretty fast and they see that it lasts. So the adoption on the equine side was much quicker. So for the first 2 years, over 90% of our sales are in the equine space. So it wasn't until October of 2023, actually, that we had our first small animal dog study that came out and was presented at the American College of Veterinary Surgeons. And it was a very powerful study because 5% improvement in mobility and reduction of pain is considered good. We use a 10% threshold. And at day 84, all the dogs hit that threshold. And 65% of the dogs improved beyond 25% mobility and 25% reduction in pain. And these were in ruptured cruciates, which is like a human destroying their ACL. So all these dogs were pretty much prescribed for surgery, and there was a good chance 65% of them won't have to have surgery and they can rehab back. So that was significant. And then hot off the press last Monday at VOS, Veterinary Orthopedic Society Conference, we had a study on hip dysplasia, and 85% of the dogs there improved what we call grade from 5 down to 2, which is 2 levels, 5 being pretty much immobile. Dogs were able to start running again, and you can see them function pretty much like a dog that just started to have issues. Obviously, ideally is we want to inject the particles earlier on so they don't have to be dependent on NSAIDs for a long period of time. And that will hopefully help prevent the further erosion of the joint because we're mimicking the cartilage that's in the joint.
All right, you've given us a bunch to think about. I want to give a real quick rundown on a couple of things that you said. Right at the outset, you talked about those potential Canadian markets, the North American above the border, if you will, markets opening up. That's going to be massive for your company, and that's why you are there in Las Vegas currently. That's one of the reasons why you were there. Another thing you brought up that I thought was very important was when you talked about the competitive separation, you said, well, we're actually complementary to those products. That's huge. I also am a chocolate lab owner. I just last year was going through the CCL, which is the ACL issue with my dog, but she's a little bit up in years. So they said, hey, look, do you really want to have her in a crate for 8 months, whatever, 8 weeks, excuse me, which she can't do. She's a very social dog. This is an amazing alternative to that, as you brought up. That's number one. Hey, we are a show that's focused on the portfolio. So listeners, I do want to point out, middle of November 2023, this stock was 55 cents. It's trading at $1.23 today. And I might add that it's green on a day when the rest of the market is just getting slaughtered. So kudos to you, John. Hey, John, as we look forward, what do you want to see your company accomplish in 2024?
So we are getting a lot of what we call key opinion leaders talking about our product and speaking at all these shows. That's one of our best advertisements, is to have the top surgeons, top pain management doctors, and so on say, hey, we've been using this newer product Spring and getting really good results, because that's what helps drive adoption. And as we move forward, we're going to be using social media now that we have very good coverage. We're in like 49 states. And to give you the growth metric, in October of 2023, we had 50 clinics using it. October of 2022, I'm sorry. Then October 2023, we're over 600 clinics. So now we can focus on educating and targeting through social media the consumers of an alternative product that would avoid surgery. And if you do need this surgery, we have found from surgeons where they do the injection right after the TPO surgery, the rehab time is cut down significantly. Plus, they're doing a contralateral injection. So the contralateral is the opposing joint that takes all the stress right after surgery. 80% of those joints fail within the first 12 months. We found from the surgeons, the reports coming back from the surgeon, they're avoiding that second surgery because we're helping support and stabilize the contralateral joint. And our product is also covered under pet insurance because it is declared as a veterinary medical device.
Hey, John, before we let you go, give us a little view around of the booth and everything else that's going on around you.
Sure. I'm going to walk around showing the 360 view. We got some of our technical vets talking to other vets and salespeople. So it's a good view of the conference.
Yeah, it really is. And listeners, again, viewers, again, we are speaking with John Lai. He is the Chief Executive Officer of PetVivo Holdings Incorporated, traded on the Nasdaq under the ticker symbol PETV. John, thank you so much for cutting out a little piece of time for us. This was an exciting first interview with you and your company. And you're speaking our language. Using that social media to tap into these markets is a fantastic way to do it, because that's how we do it here at SmallCapVoice.com. We reach out to everybody via our YouTube, our Facebook, our LinkedIn, our Instagram, our Twitter, aka X. And I know you're going to be doing the same thing, John. Thanks so much for making time for us.
Hey, thank you for having me on. Real pleasure.
Absolutely. Hey, for John Lai, this is Stuart Smith saying smash that subscribe button, like us, comment, give us your comments on this company, that ticker symbol again for your watch list and hopefully your portfolio, PETV. For John Lai, this is Stuart Smith saying thanks so much for tuning in. All right, my friend.